Hello, welcome back to Everlasting Summer. So, I don't really know what I want to do next, but I do have this choice to go to this many different places right after I play the game. So, I think this is the most likely for me to do something that'll actually be able to do a route somehow. mm, oh wow, so if I do this one, it just selects all of these? Really? What's that, and that. I went to the beach the first time. Okay, what's here? It was certainly too late for football, and so the pitch was empty. I spent a couple of minutes there, listening to the silence without any luck, and then headed back. For the first time today, I finally felt how tired I was. I did nothing. Okay, got it. Let's just go on. Yeah. Okay, for this choice, what about the sports club? I was hoping that I could escape the obligatory work if I pretended I'm helping the sports club. They obviously have tons of members and could probably do just as well without a single extra pair of hands. However, I'd better visit the sports ground, at least check in there, just in case Olga Dmitrievna finds out that her ideal pioneer slacks off and dodges community service. You never know. I could imagine worse punishments than a public telling off at a party gathering. I wasn't really planning for that to happen. All of a sudden, I saw no cleaning, painting, or repairing, but a football match. They were playing 5 versus 6. I took a closer look at the players and recognized Ulyana. I won't interfere, I'll just watch. The teams were obviously mismatched. One team consisted entirely of younger kids that looked about 12 years old. The other team consisted entirely of teenagers. Besides, they had one extra player, Ulyana. Mind you, what can just one extra person, moreover one girl, do? Soon enough, I realized that I was mistaken. Ulyana had a good dribbling technique, cutting through the defenders one by one. She obviously lacked teamwork skills, but they weren't even required at this level. She scored with inviolable regularity. I came closer to the pitch. Hey, come and join us. They're short one man on their team. I guess that's what counts as community service here. We've already finished everything, said Ulyana, sounding insulted. I looked over the sports ground again. The benches were freshly painted, new nets placed behind the goals. How did they manage to get through all this stuff? Come join their team. Well, given that I escaped the last time, I should indeed play now. Ball at the center, we start. With the very first touch, I put the ball into the top corner with a delicate strike. Actually, it wasn't that difficult. The pitch was at most 50 meters long, and a goalkeeper of the opposing team couldn't even reach the crossbar. Sometime later, we tied it up, despite our team being 7 or 8 goals behind at the start. Objectively speaking, one should note that Ulyana's team scored a couple of goals during my time here too. More precisely, she scored. You couldn't say that she had Ronaldinho's tricks or precise Beckham shots in their pocket. She would just kick the ball into open spaces and coming up towards the goal, she just toe punted every time. However, such a dull strategy brought positive results. I could not keep an eye on every opponent, and my teammates were not much help. Certainly, I played better than all of them, and theoretically, I could have scored as many times as I wanted, but it seemed unsportsmanlike to me. Winning isn't everything. It's taking part that counts, isn't it? But after Ulyana's words, a penalty shootout. The winner wins the game. I made up my mind that I don't want to lose. At the time, it was 11-9 in our favor, so it wasn't reasonable to object. You're in goal. I'll shoot. We switch then. One shot each? Yes. I stood at the line and got ready. She took her run and sent it straight into my hands. That's not fair. What's not fair? I'll shoot again. Okay, just do it, I said, smiling. The second shot would go better in rugby. One more time? Absolutely not, she sniffed. But you shall never score a goal against me. We'll see. I put a ball into the lower right corner of a goal with a precise kick. Ulyana didn't even move. However, there was no point. Penalty kicks like that are uncatchable. Looks like I won. She answered nothing and just looked at me resentfully. I needed to lighten the mood. Don't get upset. I just... And that's when the music started playing, calling the pioneers for lunch. Alright, I'll get even with you some other time. She laughed, waved her hand and ran in the direction of the canteen. I juggled the ball a little and followed her. Oh yeah, I'll see this one now. Got food poisoning from the canteen. Considering the local cuisine, it's not that surprising. Maybe, she smirked. I see you're still alive and kicking. Well, I'm not complaining. Bye. Ulyana ran out of the infirmary, slamming the door. Okay, I'll... I won't give her it. Really? A stomach ache? Really? Doesn't seem so. What? Do I have to toss my lunch all over the place for you to believe me? I don't know what terrible things can be done with activated carbon, but I'm sure you will think of something. She hesitated. And what if you're right? There. I knew it. Then I'm certainly not giving you anything. Let's try to get to the drawers, but I blocked the pillbox with my chest like Alexander Matrosov. For all her impudence, she was still just a girl, and she had no chance of pushing me aside. Whatever, I'll find it somewhere else. She turned away and headed to the exit. At the door, Alyssa stopped and looked back. By the way, the camp leader and the nurse were carrying a pioneer with a broken leg. I really don't care, but they seem to be struggling. Yeah, sure. Come see for yourself. Alyssa seemed to be lying, but on the other hand, as long as I can see her. I came to the door and looked outside. No one was there. Where exactly? They haven't reached here yet then? She made a helpless gesture. Have fun. I returned to the table and only then realized that one of the drawers was open. How did she make it so quick? I turned my back for just a second. Though, what evil can come from activated carbon? She still got it. Oh. Okay. I really don't have any idea what this does, but I guess I won't eat it. No, even assuming that this is a normal apple, in any case, I shouldn't eat unwashed fruits. Just like that, I found a reason for my fear and put the apple away. It was time to go for dinner. Eat. Something happened. Wait a minute. Carbon. Carbon that she stole from the first aid kit. Why exactly the monument? What did this honored man ever do to you? The fighter for the rights of... Accept an invitation. I'm just gonna try going to the kitchen. Oh, I already tried that, never mind. Infirmary? Have I seen this? I was always... took care... Good. Right. Okay. Infirmary. But right in front of the door, I stopped as if some mysterious force was holding me. I had absolutely no desire to face the camp nurse without any urgent need, but on the other hand, I almost did a great deed yesterday defending the infirmary. So in some sense, she owed me. I took heart and opened the door. Oh. Hi, Pioneer. Hello. I'm sorry that I was so late yesterday. It wasn't a problem at all. Why did you come? Are you sick? She smiled slyly. Well, I got my feet a bit. You got a bit what? My feet. I gave a stupid answer. Okay, show me. I sat on the couch and took off my boots. How did you manage that? I better keep silent about what happened near the washstands. Well, okay, never mind. Wait a second. She rummaged in the drawer and took out a big red pill with a cross-shaped notch from a vial. And what is that for? I was disturbed by the size of the pill and its strange shape. They are broken in halves, usually, and not in quarters. This is to make the amputation of your legs unnecessary. What? Nothing. Don't be afraid. Pioneer. You'll take it and it will be alright. All be alright. And this pill, why does it look like that? As for patients who refuse to take medicines orally, we screw it into them with the screwdriver. Then I didn't dare to ask what they were being screwed in actually. And now try to bear it a bit. She took a big pack of cotton wool, wrapped a bud with it, and applied plenty of iodine to it. I braced myself for the torments of hell. I moaned quietly. My trust in this method of disinfection was much higher than in the odd pill, so I had to withstand the burning. Now it's done. I put on my boots and tried to walk. My feet were still hurting, but the sharp pain was gone. Thank you. Don't mention it. Drop in any time. Pioneer. I said goodbye and left the infirmary. My health problem was solved. It's the right time to eat now. I'm gonna build an infirmary and do that. There. Okay. Got it. I don't really know this one. I don't think telling them that the girl's health is bad. But I guess I do want to see what this does. Yep, I try my best. Okay, but that's not all. Seriously, I was just anticipating the lovely rest I was about to have. Do you even know what these strawberries are for? I did nothing. Never mind. Let's get the book from her. A curiosity one, I struck at the right moment when Alyssa was looking away from me and snatched the book. Ouch! She screamed. In the following second, her face took on such an expression that it made me question my decision. If I'm about to die, at least I will know what for her. I held a copy of Gone with the Wind in my hands. That was the same book that Lena was reading that evening on a bench. I was so astonished that I completely forgot about my imminent death. Is it interesting? Yeah. Alyssa answered without any enthusiasm, blushing. Okay, then. I handed the book back to her. Alyssa threw it on the table and left the library quickly without looking at me. So human things aren't alien to her. In the end, she too is a girl. After a quick review of everything that just happened, I concluded that there was actually nothing that strange. Finally, Ginny's deep groan rang out, reaching each and every corner of the library. And that's... Now I'm gonna run away. The solution came out of thin air. While Olga Dmitrievna was scolding Ulyana, I snuck to the exit. Thank goodness it was nearby. Slipping outside, I hesitated for a few moments and ran into electronic. Looks like he was working till late at the club. Where's the fire? Fire? My shuttle is leaving in 10 minutes. What? Hey, wait. Electronics words hung in the air behind me. I ran off towards the square. It's definitely not the best place to hide. Indeed, in a state of stress or fatigue, I frequently start talking to myself. Well, not really talking, but rather mumbling under my breath. It helps me to concentrate and find the right solution quickly. Okay, where to next? Where should I go? The best place would be the one with the least amount of people. Consequently, my way lies in the woods. Half a minute later, I was already relaxing, sitting on a stump near the forest trail. That was one heck of a getaway. I hope that will teach Ulyana to behave. Indeed, she's not a child anymore. Well, sad but true. Not a child anymore. Now, a thought crossed my mind. I might have sort of mishandled the whole situation. A fair share of that broken tableware is because of me. Moreover, one might mention that I didn't have to engage in that mess at the beginning. It got me thinking. How's the weather? Slavia stood right before me. How did she manage to sneak up unnoticed? Thank goodness it's not Olga Dmitrievna. Fine. Those were the only words I managed to squeeze out from myself. I thought I'd find you here. Why? I'm not sure, it's just... She looked up at the sky. There are few people around here. Does Slavia really think I have some sort of a social phobia? On second thoughts, she actually has a good reason to think so. And what are you doing here? Looking for you. She smiled again, but this time her smile looked a bit different, a little friendlier, I guess. Me? Why? Can't you guess? I braced and prepared for a harsh lecture. I understand that you're guilty to a lesser degree than Ulyana. Now the camp leader's assistant is defending me. I felt even more pathetic. Oh, get serious. We're not playing bad cop / good cop here. But if I grant that you aren't going to help her, you can at least help me. Saying that, Slavia looked up at the sky yet again. I wonder what she's looking for up there. And what do I need to do? We have to reorganize the books in the library. It's way better than disciplinary enslavement together with Ulyana. And anyway, it was an offer I couldn't refuse. I'm all at your service, mademoiselle, or madam. She laughed. Then follow me, monsieur. In a couple of minutes, we were in the library. All the way I kept looking around in fear of meeting Olga Dmitrievna. It looks like Slavia didn't notice my anxiety. And still, it's quite odd that she hasn't scolded me. Well, if we are to continue our analogy, Slavia is definitely the good cop. When we went inside, gleaming sunlight streamed through the windows of the library with a myriad of dust particles dancing in the beams. It's a special library dust with that distinctive smell that you can never confuse with anything else. These microscopic pieces of the moribund collected works of Marxism, Leninism classics. That's interesting. Does the dust near the fiction shelf smell similar to the dust near the books on physics and chemistry? You start with those rows. Slavia pointed at the bookshelf near Lenin's sculpted head. Okay, but what exactly do I have to do? Just remove the books from the shelves and put them on the floor. We'll dust them and then we'll put them back. By looking at all this dust, reading is hardly the pioneer's favorite activity. Any idea where Semyon might be? Don't know. She probably went somewhere. Strange. It appears that there are just two places in the world where one can meet Xenia, the library and the canteen. I got into gear. I guess I've never handled so many books at one time in my entire life. Anyway, I'm much more used to reading that from a computer screen or a tablet. Firstly, there is no need to pay for electronic books, and secondly, you cannot find everything in printed form. How's it going? Asked Slavia, standing behind the bookshelves. It's okay, it's going little by little. Have you read anything about that? About what? Well, about communism. Nah, I'm kind of more into historical books and adventures. Me too. Well, historical literature wasn't exactly my favorite, but the class struggle under socialism was definitely no match for it. Hey, don't hold a grudge against Ulyana. I don't. Indeed, I felt that my ego had mostly recovered from the incident at the canteen. Besides, I managed to cleanse myself of the lunch leftovers in the forest lake. It's not like she's doing all that out of spite. Out of spite or not, one should think through one's own actions. Whatever. I kept moving around dozens of books written by people totally unknown to me. I'm gonna forget who they are in a minute, and I'll never get to know what they were writing about. That is the doom of many writers, to become a forsaken set of letters in a hardcover on a bookshelf in the library of a non-existent pioneer camp's reality. Have you finished? Yeah, I think so. Me too. Okay, let's do it this way. I'll wipe them down and you put them back on the shelves. But I don't remember what order they were placed in before. It's okay, nobody reads them anyway. It looks like she has a smile for every occasion. A couple of times I noticed a slight difference, shades of emotion in that smile, joy, happiness, sadness. But these shades were so evanescent, I wasn't really sure that I'm not imagining things. This time her smile looked a little flirty. Yeah, probably. At least I wouldn't be reading this stuff. Savia was wiping the covers with a damp cloth, and I was putting the books back on the shelf. We were a good team, our job was almost done. Why didn't you take anything from the upper shelves? Upper shelves? I looked up. Sorry, I hadn't noticed them. It's alright. Wait a moment. I'll bring the chair. Even with my rather considerable stature, I wouldn't be able to get them. I stood on the chair and proceeded to remove the books from the shelves and pass them to Slavia. After a while, there were only about a dozen books left at the farthest end of the shelf. It looked to me like it wouldn't be hard to reach that far. I always been the type to take a larger bite rather than biting twice, and taking that bite without moving the chair under me became a fatal error. Oh, ow. Opening my eyes, I find myself on top of Slavia. Are you alive? I got the fright of my life. Even if I'm only 17 now, falling off a chair onto a girl is something else. I'm fine. Her face was only an inch away from mine. Anything broken? I don't think so. You'd make a rather bad stuntman. She laughed. You bet. I looked into her eyes. Just looked. I wasn't sure what I should say, and Slavia either hesitated to or just let me take the lead. At this rate, something might happen. Her lips were so close to mine. A natural desire started to awaken my body, but was it right? I had the urge to stand up, but wasn't able to do so. Slavia was just lying in silence and looking me straight in the eyes. All of a sudden, I noticed the bell ringing on the edge of my hearing. It's dinner time? Yeah. Shall we go? Or shall we lie here some more? She smiled again, and this time her smile seemed foxy to me, as if she was hinting at something. Let's go. I didn't move an inch. Well, if we're going to go, you need to get up first. Obviously, it felt like some invisible force was holding me in place. Slavia seemed to recognize that and carefully slipped out from under me. Are you going to stay there? She laughed. At that point, I finally came to my senses and stood up. I'm sorry. That's okay. But we haven't finished it all. We'll have to clean up the rest later. Yeah, sure. I stayed silent all the way to the canteen. Okay, that's an interesting scene there. Got it. The first girl I actually wanted to romance is Lena, but I can't figure out how to do it. I don't really know what choices I have to make at all. I'm trying. I stayed silent all the way to the canteen. Slavia rambled on about her life in the camp, but given that it was indeed a monologue, I wasn't paying much attention. Coming to the canteen, I saw a wooden chair on the porch. Don't you have some explaining to do, young man? Now I remember what it was that I'd forgotten. Nope. How was your cleaning duty? Good enough. That's not what Ulyana told me. That was all her fault. And what did I tell you? I ordered you to clean up together. And what were you doing? I didn't know what to say, as deep down I knew that she's right. Don't blame him. Semyon was helping me at the library. Oh, really? Yeah. Well, that's all great and stuff, but to cut a long story short, you won't get dinner tonight. How's that? Why? I protested. However, my protest looked more like a demand for a refill at the prison mess hall, bold and daring, but still stupid and counterproductive. Hopefully that will teach you a lesson. At that instant, Olga Dmitrievna looked more like an ancient Roman legionnaire commander than a tiny pioneer camp leader. I had no idea how to oppose her. Forgive him, and hold me responsible. The camp leader took her time to think it over. Alright, if you say so. Thanks. Thanks. We hurried inside. Well, I'm gonna join the girls. We had a prior arrangement. Take care. She smiled and waved her goodbyes. Seriously, where would I be without her? There were no free places near Slavia, and besides, I hadn't been introduced to her friends. It seems that I will have to share a dinner table with Electronic and Shurik. There were no more places to sit. What's happening, gentlemen? Every time I had to deal with them, I got an itching desire to tease them, or at least drop some cheeky or cocky banter. Okay. Look, I do have to do that. Right? Don't go with Miku. You know, I should be searching for Shurik and all that stuff. Miku looked at me with frustration. Just for a little bit. Oh, and I go anyway. Yay. Okay. Oh, I don't get it. I've done literally every choice for her. I don't know what I'm missing. Let's just do this. What is it? Nothing. She blushed. Thank you. You're welcome. Slavia ran away. Seems like I shouldn't have asked. Let's go alone. I feel like it. Am I going there alone? We're gonna make sure everything looks awful. Perhaps you're right. We'll go together tomorrow morning. We stood in silence for some time, then dispersed around the camp. Everybody seemingly forgot about Alyssa and her terrorist act, maybe due to the minor damage it caused. Together with the camp leader, I went towards our cabin. I tried to think of why Shurik would go to the old camp. He's interested in robots and cybernetics, not scary stories and ghosts. What does that boot have to do with it? I remembered how I decided to wait until something extraordinary would happen, and then I realized this is it. Olga Dmitrievna, I think I'll take a walk before bed. Just not a long one. Okay. When I reached the square, I understood that hanging around the forest or some other strange place may not be that scary. But doing so in the dark, I didn't want to return to Olga Dmitrievna's cabin, but I had to find a flashlight. For instance, there was one in the infirmary. I was glad I didn't spend my whole time there reading the fashion magazine. The flashlight was found quickly. In a few minutes, I was again standing at the square, pulling myself together. I just had to make the final decision before I entered the forest. Moving past the pioneer's cabin, down the forest path towards the abandoned camp. I set forth. Electronic told me that the old building was built immediately after the war. It looked like a kindergarten, or like a barracks I expected, and definitely could hold fewer pioneers than today's camp. It had been abandoned for about 20 years. It was now totally dark. The forest looked totally different at night. Mysterious shadows were hiding behind the trees, strange rustlings and the cries of night birds coming from everywhere, branches treacherously snapping under my feet. The full moon was shining, so I decided to save the battery and the flashlight. I'm sure I will need it sometime soon. The further I moved, the more unpleasant thoughts came into my head. I wasn't afraid of the dark at all. I didn't believe in ghosts and other mystical crap, but at the same time, during the last few days, I'd encountered so many incomprehensible phenomena that against my own will, I started to read between the lines of the simplest things. Obviously, I felt exceptionally uneasy in the forest at night. Everywhere I looked, every shadow, every tree or bush looked like weird creatures, escaping straight from horror movies or from Stephen King novels. A branch seemed to be someone's hand, eager to grab your shoulder. A fallen log, someone's dead body, someone who failed to get out of the forest. In every gully, I saw a bottomless abyss. If I had found myself in this forest under any other circumstances, without all these buses and pioneer camps, of course, I would still feel uncomfortable, but then I would be able to explain everything with logic and be afraid of nothing, except for owls and mice, of course. But at the moment, there were more than enough reasons to fear. Despite all this, I reached the old camp without any adventures. In a little glade surrounded by trees stood a house resembling a kindergarten. Paint peeled off the walls, almost all the windows were broken masonry here and there, holes in the roof that looked like those made by a bombing. In front of the building there was a little garden surrounded by a rusty fence. Apparently once was a playground with a merry-go-round, swing, slides, and other Soviet attractions. But time is cruel. All of them were broken and mutilated by corrosion. The grass was so tall that it almost came up to my waist. The moon looked out from behind the clouds and illuminated the old camp. It seemed like everything that came back to life. Windows shone with new glass and walls looked like they'd been painted with fresh paint. I heard playful laughter, saw translucent children joyfully running and frolicking in the yard, a strict camp leader on the threshold, holding a basket with ripe apples in her hands, the old cleaning lady taking a nap in the shade. It sent chills down my spine. Of course, my imagination was just playing tricks, but the old camp itself was so similar to all the post-apocalyptic pictures I'd seen that these visions were no surprise. I stood undecided for a long time before I dared to go further. After all, I'm here to find Shurik, though I still don't get what he might be doing here, if he even is here. A boot somewhere nearby doesn't mean anything. However, if he was not eaten by wolves, for some reason it seemed like there were no wolves in this forest. This must be the only place where he might be hiding. I carefully crossed the yard, pushing the tall grass apart and trying not to bump into a jagged piece of metal. But I stopped in a doorway, hesitating. An impenetrable heavy darkness stared back at me from inside. Even the bright moonlight could not illuminate any object or even highlight a silhouette. My head was filled up with different thoughts that all said that it's better for me to not go any further and run away quickly. But I pulled myself together, turned on the flashlight, and stepped over the threshold. Inside the building looked like a typical kindergarten. I still remembered my childhood days, and so everything here looked familiar. Sleeping room with lines of beds standing close to each other, a large playroom, toilets, a dining room, and utility rooms. Signs of the past children's joy were seen everywhere. From time to time, the flashlight drew my attention to a decaying doll, or a plastic toy car, or a punctured rubber ball, or a broken rank of tin soldiers. There was a book on the table, faded with age. I flipped through a few pages. It was a story I had read a long time ago, back in my childhood. Something about the war. Enemies destroyed the kindergarten and all of its kids hid in the little basement together with a bunch of adults, while bombs were exploding up on the surface. I don't remember the end of the story, but as far as I remember, nobody died. Looking at the illustrations, all the emotions, fear, sadness, sympathy for the poor children, and a sense of hopelessness which I had experienced while reading this book came over me. It's strange that under exactly these conditions, right here and now, that I found this book. Probably there is somebody who manages this ongoing story, who writes the scenario for this absurd play, who sews costumes for the local pioneers, and creates sets like this abandoned camp. To tell the truth, he is very talented. Attention is paid to even the most minor of details. Although this place was abandoned a long time ago, everything here seemed to be untouched. Of course, time didn't spare this camp. In so many years, it had often been visited by the locals. A perfect place for young people just hitting puberty. They could drink alcohol, indulge in amorous pleasures, or simply burn everything down just for fun. Electronic mentioned this place is full of legends. Legends of ghosts and devils living here. Take, for example, the story about the camp leader who committed suicide. In my world, nobody would believe that this could stop somebody, but in this reality, anything is possible. Certainly, the fear didn't disappear, but I decided that since I'd come here, I was going to carry on to the end. The building was small, so it wasn't difficult to search it completely, but I didn't find any sign of Shurik. Maybe I should just call out to him. But on the other hand, maybe that's not such a good idea. Frustrated, I sat on a bench in the lobby inside. Ghosts, where are you? I asked the camp, and all of a sudden I noticed a strange depression in the corner. A small trapdoor, an adult would barely be able to squeeze through it, and it seemed to me that it had been recently opened as the dust was cleared around it. And so here's the part where I need to be scared. So Shurik went somewhere. What might be lurking beneath the trapdoor? A basement? What would he be doing there? I pulled open the hatch and pointed the flashlight into the darkness. There was a ladder going down a couple of meters, ending in a concrete floor. There was a low, narrow corridor disappearing in the darkness. I hesitated for a long time. On the one hand, I had absolutely no desire to go down there, but on the other hand, if Shurik was really there, I swore loudly and began to descend. Downstairs, it was so dark that even the flashlight didn't help much. A low ceiling, wires extended along the walls, broken lamps clad in iron bars. I've all seen it all somewhere. I slowly started to move deeper into the dungeon. The path went down, and after a few dozen meters ended at a stairway with high steps. Soon I found myself in front of a massive metal door. There was a sign painted on it. I looked closely and realized that it was a biohazard sign. No wonder. If the old camp was built after the war and it lasted until the 70s, so it's an ordinary bomb shelter, and there's nothing to be afraid of. However, those thoughts made me even more scared. I made a decision and opened the door. which immediately shut with a sharp sound as soon as I stepped through the doorway. I shuddered strongly, my hands began to tremble, and my vision dimmed. I regained consciousness after a few seconds, and only then did I realize that apparently a strong spring was attached to the door. I found myself in a quite spacious room. In the beam of the flashlight, I could see a bunk bed, some cabinets along the walls, and several devices of unknown purpose located in the far corner. It seems as this bomb shelter has never been used. Nobody ever came here. The beds were made, which is strange in itself. I carefully looked around the room several times. The cabinets were filled with gas masks, chemical protective suits, dry rations, various domestic odds and ends. The devices which I at first could determine the purpose of were gauges of radiation, air pressure, and temperature. In short, it was a typical bomb shelter. I'd never been in such a place before, but it was how I imagined it. The only thing that remained unexplored was the door at the other end of the room. I pulled the handle, but the door remained closed. If someone recently came down here, and he wasn't found in this room, then it would be logical to assume that he's behind this door. I called out in a whisper. Shurik? No reply. Maybe he locked himself out. But why? It was unclear what I should do next. Perhaps it would be smarter to come back tomorrow with help, but for some reason I had a feeling that behind this door I would find answers that can't wait to be found. I walked across the room and took a crowbar from the corner. I wedged it under the bottom of the door and tried to rip it from its hinges. Oddly enough, after a while, I did just that. Fortunately, it wasn't as massive as the previous door. The door gave out and slammed onto the floor. I took a deep breath and pointed the flashlight down the passage. The corridor vanished in the darkness, the same as the one on which brought me here. The walls were closing in, my head almost touched the ceiling, but I could not make out the end of the corridor. I walked carefully, looked at the ground. This was the reason that I did not fall into the pit. The hole was about 1.5 meters in diameter, and there was earth at the bottom of it instead of concrete. It seems that the hole was caused by an explosion. It wasn't too deep. I could easily climb out later. After I jumped into the hole, I found myself in something that resembled an old mine. The walls and the ceiling were reinforced with wooden beams. The tunnel was so long that my flashlight was insufficient. A few minutes later, I found myself at the crossroads. It's too dangerous to go any further. I could get lost. I decided that it would be a good idea to somehow mark the place from which I would begin my journey to the labyrinth, so I picked up a stone and made quite a big notch on the wall. So, I don't think it does anything to any of the routes if I just go alone. So, I mean, it's an option. I don't think it does anything at all, but okay. Riders camps, Century, yep. Mine, fire, got it. Yep. Getting to there again. Ceiling, find something cool. Yep, that's the same thing. I don't want to do this mining thing again, so hopefully I can the door. I opened it and went inside a small room. Nobody was here except Shurik, who sat in the corner. Shurik. He stared at me with eyes full of terror. Okay. Don't come near me. Shurik, it's me, Semyon. So is this the same thing that happened when I went down here to Slavyana, right? I won't give up so easily. Grabbed a piece of a reinforced bar, whipped me down his back, and started waving it around. Shurik, what's wrong with you? Calm down. First you bring me here, then you take me through this mine, and now you're pretending to be Semyon. He must have gone completely nuts. Shurik, calm down. Nobody's pretending to be me. I really am me. I tried to talk as calmly as I could, but I was almost feeling more nervous than him. Semyon? He squinted. Is that really you? Yes, and now tell me what happened. How did you get here? Shurik recovered his breath and started to talk. I needed some parts for the robot, and I heard that there's a bomb shelter in the old camp, and there could be some instruments there. So I got up in the morning and went. He stopped for a minute, trying to deal with the trembling of his hands. I found suitable parts, but then I read primal fear in his eyes. The voices, they told me to go here. I went down the mine. Then they were telling me to go to the right, then left, then right, then left, then right, then left. He started to laugh hysterically. But now they won't get me. I'll stay sitting here. They won't find me here. He once again started to wave his pipe in the air. Sure, there's no one there. I wasted a lot of time walking in the mine like you, but didn't hear any voices. He fixed his eyes on me. Then you were with them. Shurik rushed towards me. I was just barely able to dodge him. Oh, but the flashlight wasn't as lucky. It's like the full force of Shurik's blow. We found ourselves in complete darkness. Now it was my turn to lose my mind. What have you done, you idiot? I lashed out with my hand in the direction where I expected Shurik to be, but to no avail. Now we will both die here. I got nothing but silence in return, and then a quiet, hysterical laugh. It's alright, that's fine. I know where the exit is. Follow me. Follow you where? I can't see a thing. Follow my voice. I had no other choice. Here. Shurik's voice was heard from somewhere further on. How do you know where to go? I walked all over here. Then why didn't you leave? The voice is quiet. They can hear us. In theory, I could believe that there are some supernatural forces here. In the Slavyana camp, they'd just be a daily occurrence. But there was no reason to panic yet, though my hands were shaking non-stop. Here. I slowly followed his voice and eventually lost track of time. We could have been roaming for a few minutes, or a few hours. Finally, a dim light appeared in the distance. We're here. We reached the wall. The way towards freedom was blocked by a lattice on the ceiling. I pulled myself up and recognized the square from the bits of landscape I could see. Lift me up. Shurik obediently followed my request. I started to hit the grating with my fist so hard that in just a few strikes my arms were all covered in blood. But in return the grating gave way and pushed open. A minute later we were on the surface behind the monument of Genda. When I saw this grating before, I had no idea that there could be catacombs below it. They will come for you. I fell to the ground exhausted. Who? They will come, said Shurik again and ran away. I was so exhausted that I could not even be bothered thinking about some voices or recalling the forsaken camp, the bomb shelter, or the mine. Almost unconscious, I reached the camp leader's cabin, but I couldn't go to bed right away. Well, look who's here. We're gonna meet you now. I started tiredly, attempting to cut the explanation to a minimum. You said you weren't going for a walk, but instead, and I was going to go and call the police, and we're gonna meet you guys. I can't wait until tomorrow. I'm really, really tired. The camp leader eyed me all over. Okay, fine. I was a bit surprised that she agreed so fast, but decided not to waste this opportunity, and quickly turned the light off and darted under the covers. Okay, I did it. Good. So, Semyon rescued him by himself. But if I want to start Lena, there's one choice I'm missing, and I don't know what it is. I think I know what's going on for this. When you get to this choice at the end, when you can talk to one of them, you talk to one that you have done enough for, and then you can actually start the day 7 with that girl, if you have enough for them by then. That's all I know so far. I'll see what this one is. Do not reply. I was frozen in astonishment. The girl looked perfectly normal, just like an ordinary human, but I still could not utter a single word. It's too late to run. Did I say something wrong? It took a monumental effort to answer. Yeah. What? Oh, nothing. I mean, I've just arrived. I replied quickly, beginning to worry that I might have blurted out something wrong. Alright, then welcome. She smiled broadly. Strangely, it looked as if I had just a normal girl in front of me. Ah, I should have never returned here. The woods and fields seem better. Okay. What happens if I do this too? Right after him. I decided that I had no wish to come across this aggressive Alyssa girl again and darted after electronic. Running to the square, I lost sight of him. But Devashskaya wasn't chasing me either. However, I really should not risk calling her that, even in my mind. After catching my breath, I wondered why I had reacted like that. Alright, she is a girl, an aggressive one. But why run away? Failing to find a good answer, I sat down on the bench and stared at the monument. Let's go alone. I'll go get them. Fine, they're in my cabin and gesture. I headed to Olga Dmitrievna's place. Why did I agree anyway? Then again, what choice did I have? There's nothing to do here at night, at least I'll have some fun. But my mind kept nagging me about this not being a good time for having fun. On the other hand, if there actually exists a camp with pioneers, then it must be someone's doing. And even if it's not true, then the most logical thing is to seek answers here, not in the forest or fields. But at this very moment, the answer is going to play cards. I opened the door with my own key and went inside. To my surprise, there were no cards inside. Instead, it was full of cups, forks, and knives, plates, scotch tape, scissors, rubber gloves, a piece of rope, a few plastic bags, pencils, and a few broken pens. Everything except playing cards. Maybe I should look in the closet? It was full of Olga Dmitrievna's clothes, but a small drawer with a keyhole at the top caught my eye. I pulled, but it didn't open. I wonder if she's hiding something? Forcing it open wasn't the best idea, even if the cards were in there. When I got back, Olga Dmitrievna informed me. Sorry, I remembered that cards were in Slavia's cabin. She fetched them while you were looking. I looked at Slavia. She meekly smiled. Come on, you guys. Don't worry about me. I'll be fine. Slavia and Olga Dmitrievna went inside. I was going to follow, but someone grabbed my hand. Alyssa? I have a choice not to go with Alyssa, so I'll do it. No, I'm not going to participate in your shady business. Sorry about that. You wuss! She shrugged and went up the stairs. Before she went inside, she flung at me. Prepare to face the consequences. Consequences? What if I made the wrong decision? After all, she can really complicate things for me here. On the other hand, I just couldn't allow myself to be pulled into something so reckless. I let out a heavy sigh and followed her through the door. Okay. I still did it anyway. For the tournament, I don't really know what it does at all, but after you can win, you get a choice to lose on each round. You can just skip without playing. I know that this is for Alyssa. I don't really know what these do. That probably like does nothing. That I've done multiple times and I got nothing from it, so I'll try this one. Skip the tournament, lose against Alyssa. Okay, I lost to Jessica, and that's the most unfortunate one. One can only guess what she will get up to tomorrow. She could embarrass me at the lineup, if I don't oversleep, of course. She could complain to Olga Dmitrievna. She could just start rumors around the camp. The worst thing is that everyone will believe her, not me. I wasn't even sure why, but I was 100% sure about it. I had no idea what to do at all to start Lena. No idea. What's here? Genda Square. I came to the square and took a seat on the bench. Simply staring at the Genda statue seemed like a good idea. For the first time today, I finally felt how tired I was. Okay, that does nothing. I'm going back. Yeah, that does nothing. I'm going back. What about this one? Scene. I decided to walk north, or at least in the direction that I believed it was. After several minutes, far ahead I saw a concert hall, several rows of wooden benches, and a similar wooden stage. I climbed onto the stage. So much very musical equipment, loudspeakers, a microphone stand, and even a piano. I imagined that I was in front of a massive audience, shouting and chanting my name, my eyes hurting from the spotlights. Imagining a guitar in my hands, I tried to perform a long and striking solo. I suppose it looked pretty funny from a stranger's point of view, a weird guy swinging his arms on stage, jumping around like an ape and making faces. I hope no one can see me here. With that in mind, I jumped off the stage and hurried away. Yeah. Let's try this. Between the shame of the dance party and Devon's kid's guy's magic guitar skills, I'd rather pick the latter. Good boy. She smiled strangely. I was just wondering if the decision I made was the right one, when suddenly I was interrupted by a ring calling the pioneers for lunch. I looked towards the canteen. Okay. I already had my insurance. Let's yada. Yep. Okay. Now here, I'm going to see Alyssa instead of the dance, so it's time then. But I agreed to help Lena, and what should I do now? Go to Alyssa, go to the dance party. I only got this choice because I made that one. What is this? Go to the dance party. And a couple. Okay. Only Lena and Alyssa stood out in all this splendor. Well, of course, it was quite natural for Alyssa to be arguing with someone like that. But hearing Lena talk in a raised voice, I came closer silently, trying to find out what was going on. No, you listen to me. I'm not going to listen to anything. Really? Great then. Alyssa turned away and her eyes met mine. At first she obviously was confused about what was going on, but then... So, you're eavesdropping. What, me? No. She began slowly advancing on me and I took a few steps back. Lena, however, remained standing where she was. Well, okay then, listen. Alyssa stopped halfway and turned back to Lena. By the way, did you know he was peeping on me today? What? Peeping, and he saw everything. Is that true? Lena wrung her hands distressingly, giving a quick glance and started staring at the ground, as if she was cut off from the world. No, nothing like that happened. Having thrown an angry glance at Alyssa, I came up to Lena. Why are you denying it? I even have a witness. Your witness is even worse than you. So you'll stick to your claim that it didn't happen? It took a second to think. But really, why do I have such a pathological desire to exonerate myself before Lena, as I vitally need her opinion of me to remain unchanged? Though, how would I know what she's thinking? It didn't happen. Lena threw a baleful look at Alyssa and raised her eyes to me right after that, eyes full of discomfort and hope. It suddenly became unbearable to stare into these eyes. It didn't happen, I repeated less confidently. Well, whatever. Alyssa sneered from behind me. It's up to you to decide who to trust. She said to Lena offhandedly, then turned away and headed to the bonfire. Is that true? I felt uncomfortable like a fish out of water, feeling the urge to end this as fast as possible. And why should I have to excuse myself to her? Well, so what if it did happen? I looked at Lena boldly, but noticed only a bright sunset gleam reflected in a tear which was going down her cheek. No, I meant, you don't need to lie. She wiped off her tears and tried to smile. After all, it's none of my business. No, why isn't it? But why is it? It's just that it was an accident, get it? An accident which was caused by Ulyana, nothing more. Yeah, sure. It's true. I believe you. Lena was saying everything with absolutely no emotion, like she didn't care at all about what was going on. I was almost able to believe it, but her tears a few seconds ago. It seems to me that you don't... What is this, some kind of game? Lena said quietly, but there was a hint of anger in her tone. You really need to convince me of that, and even if I believed you, what then? Would it all become true? I'm not trying to convince you of anything, I just want you to understand that I'm not guilty, and didn't want to. Why should I care at all? Lena shouted. I was standing with my back to the bonfire, but I was sure that all the pioneers had turned in our direction. If you want to peep at someone, do it. Do whatever you want, but why do you bother me? I'm not. But really, from any point of view, it looked that way. I'm trying to excuse myself to Lena with no success. Like a guilty child, or maybe even like a husband who slipped up. Just so you know, I don't care. Lena turned away and headed back to the camp in a fast walk. I didn't try to stop her. Now it certainly wasn't the best solution. She's on the edge. No attempts to convince her or appeal to reason would help. Since when is she like that? Screaming that way, getting mad. With these thoughts in mind, I returned to the bonfire and sat down on a wooden log. Weird. Okay, so... Alyssa asked after seating herself nearby. What? Not a great success, huh? As you see, I growled out while picking at the coals with a stick. They grew completely dark and the glade was plunged into darkness. The surrounding landscape was reminiscent of a picture from a child's book about a wood monster, and unknown forest creature is just about to spring out from behind a tree. Predatory owls hoot menacingly in tree branches. Even mice looking out from snags stare at you with distrust. I was not afraid at that moment. Everything was different from the previous day when I was in the dungeon at the old camp. The moon was shining brightly, paying close attention to our brave troop. The world was sleeping, waiting for the morning, bathing in the moonlight. As I thought, though it was expected. But why? I finally managed to pick up the largest burning log and throw it into the center of the fire, causing the flames to rise about a meter high, and a vortex of sparks to spread out in all directions. Does Lena often behave like that? How? Screaming at others. I couldn't believe she would act in such a way. She is human like anyone else. Alyssa giggled. As if you hadn't noticed this before. What hadn't I noticed? Her. What do you mean? I mean, this is her true face. What do you mean, true face? Oh, you're so stupid. Finish what you started. She's not what she seems like, not like how you thought of her before. So how is she? Okay, I'm sick of this. Alyssa stood up, intending to leave. I didn't say anything, just sat and listened to the silence of the forest. By the way, if you want to follow her, I think she's on the island. On what island? The one where you were gathering strawberries today. And what is she doing there? You really are an idiot. Alyssa stomped the ground, circled the campfire, and sat opposite. I must have really lost track of things. My head was absolutely blank. To be precise, it was so heavy and full, so that not even a single idea would have the chance to dwell there. If I would compare my brain in its prime to a broad highway full of speeding thoughts overtaking each other and causing giant chaotic crashes, then now it's nothing but a forgotten tiny path in a distant desolate forest, which is only used in times of absolute necessity. I tried to think over what had happened, analyze it somehow, but it seemed I was bashing against an invisible wall. Moreover, it was impossible for me to find a single emotion in my soul, any response, as if it had all happened to someone else. I failed to convince Lena that I'm not guilty. Should I care? Lena cried, screamed, and then left. So what? I don't feel anything about it. Should I? I bit my lip until it bled and stood up. I couldn't bear to stay here among these laughing pioneers. I should run away. It doesn't matter where to the forest, to the mine, even to space. I don't care, just so long as I can get far away from here. I seized a moment when the camp leader was looking in the other direction and vanished into the forest shadows. Aww. There had been no rain for a long time. However, I'm not sure whether it rains here at all. What a stupid idea. Of course it does. The plants need some moisture. The night was fresher than the afternoon, but the air still had enough time to cool. I felt a little dizzy from the evening stuffiness. Suddenly I realized that I wanted to swim. It's quite a normal desire because the days are hot and you constantly feel soaked with sweat during the daytime. I didn't even notice that I'd been approaching the pier. Why not the beach? Thoughts of Lena came over me again. Everything that I tried to ignore came out and brought lots of inconvenient questions, inappropriate answers, and vague desires. It was obvious that I had been led to the pier by my subconscious. But what do I really want? To apologize to her for something? To convince her of something? No, unlikely. I just wanted to get some sort of reaction from her. Wanted her to say, yes, I understand everything, and just smile. And then I could stop myself from feeling like that. It was necessary for me to be understood by someone, even in this world. I untied a boat, pushed it into water, got in, and took up the paddles. It was easier to row this time. My hands were still hurting, but I managed to develop some sort of technique that allowed me to travel quite directly. The river seemed frozen, spreading under the boat like a translucent veil. The moonlight was piercing deep into the water, so it was almost possible to see the bottom. I started rowing. Surprisingly, the island now seemed the same as it did in the daytime. Here, usually everything is different. After dusk, it felt like another world, a mystery world, scary at times, but beautiful in its own way, a world of shadows and whispers, a nocturnal world. I slowly walked around the island looking for the boat which Lena took to come here. The grass softly rustled under my feet. The occasional waves peacefully struck the shore and bounced back like flies too tired from beating on the glass. The breeze from the water lazily stirred the leaves of the trees, out of habit rather than a real desire to make the night crows sing. I looked at this wonderful picture with such delight that I didn't even notice something until I stumbled into it. It was a boat. Well, of course, she wouldn't get here by swimming. I headed towards the center of the island. After 100 meters, I heard a rustling from behind a tree. Don't come any closer, Lena whispered. I hesitated. Don't come any closer, she said louder. How did you know it's me? though she hadn't indicated that she'd known that. Alright. I leaned against the tree, trying not to look behind it. Alyssa told me that you would be here. So what? It was difficult for me to know what emotions Lena was experiencing. Her voice was steady enough, even though I could read irritation and annoyance in it. I could not understand whether she was angry or whether it was all the same to her. That came out awkward. I was doing my best to avoid unnecessary apologies and excuses, but couldn't find other words to use instead. Was that the only reason you came? No, well, I don't know. You don't know, but you still came? Yes. You shouldn't have. Why? Of course, if I'm bothering you. Why are you following me? She was right. It certainly looked that way. Moreover, I definitely felt attracted to her. You shouldn't think like this. How should I think? I don't know. I can only draw conclusions based on your behavior. I really don't know. I guess I'd better go. I was confused, and it was hard to just be near her. Why, since you came? I seemed to hear a playful tone in her voice. Alright. And? What? What did Alyssa tell you? Nothing special. I see. Yeah. Well then. Yep. We just stayed silent for a while. Since you came, tell me about something. Well, I don't know. For example, about what happened this morning. What about what happened this morning? You know. You yourself didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to, but now I want to. Lena's voice trembled. I couldn't understand what was happening at all anymore. Maybe it's not her behind the tree. Don't look. Okay, what's wrong? Nothing, just don't look. Alright, as you wish. So, nothing happened? Well, something did, but that was all just a silly accident. Then why are you so worried about what I think about it? I'm not worried. And anyway, you yourself, I said louder, beginning to feel irritated. What about me? Why are you so concerned about this situation? Who said that I'm concerned about the situation? Then what? Nothing, she said in a whisper and fell silent. Such talk would lead us to nowhere. Lena won't say anything, and I seem to be too stupid to guess or even just to be sure about myself. Sorry, I guess it's all my fault. I just cannot understand. Why? What? Why do you keep apologizing for everything? For what you did, for what you are doing, even for what you haven't done yet? But maybe she was right, but I couldn't behave differently. I felt the need to apologize to her, to everyone, so they would not think badly of me, wouldn't laugh at me, so I can put away something unsaid and eliminate misunderstandings. Anyway, that's your business. Lena got angry. Apologize, make excuses. Why should I care? Okay, well, I'm not guilty. In fact, I don't think I could be blamed for anything. But then what's wrong? What is wrong with you? Why would something be wrong with me? I don't know, I just think so. Oh, you just think so, she laughed. You speak as if you know me. I did not answer. Please leave, Lena said after a while. I didn't move, just could not, had no strength to do so. I wanted nothing at that point. Didn't want to excuse myself, to apologize. I didn't even want her understanding. I was too tired of everything. Why? Just leave, she whispered. I don't want to. Then I'll leave. Let's just go together. No. How long are you going to be offended? By what? What's wrong with you? Everything here, one here behaves normally, except you. I did not care what my words meant, as if they had been said by someone else and the topic of conversation meant nothing. You really don't understand anything. Alyssa was right. About what? Never mind. Hey, I closed my eyes to think it over. No, I can't go. I don't understand. Don't know what to think, what to do. And since when did I stop worrying about my situation in this world, or how to get back? Since when was the only thing I could think about Lena, or how others would look at me, or how my actions looked from the other side? It's just stupid, and it's not like me. In fact, it's inappropriate in this situation. In short, I didn't do anything, and don't intend to justify things, which I didn't do. There was no reply. Hey, do you hear me? I finally decided to see who was actually hiding behind the tree, but no one was there, so she left. I rushed over to Lena's boat, but she was already far away, almost near the pier. Whatever. I shouted and walked along the shore. Well, I got back relatively quickly and without much trouble. However, my hands still ached terribly and my eyes were closing themselves. Probably such a physical and, more importantly, emotional load is too much for one person. I walked slowly toward the camp leader's cabin, staring down at my feet and thinking about nothing. Someone called to me at the square. Hey. Alyssa ran up to me. Have you been to the island? Yes. To tell the truth, I didn't want to talk to her about anything, but I already didn't have the strength to lie to her. And how did it go? Doesn't matter. I'm very tired and I'm going to sleep. Come on, tell me. Her face had such a nasty grimace that I shuddered with rage. Why should you care? Well, she murmured in dismay. Mind your own business. I snapped and quickened my pace toward the cabins. Alyssa did not try to stop me. Annoyingly, Olga Dmitrievna had not returned yet, and I could not find my key. What if I lost it? The only thing I could do was wait. I plopped down into the deck chair and closed my eyes. Okay, Alyssa is definitely the easiest to start because all you have to do is win the tournament. My heart was heavy and my soul was being torn apart by vague expectations. From time to time, I had a feeling that I was already dead, just without realizing it, and had been thrown into hell. But really, instead of trying to get out of here, I'm spinning on a diabolic roundabout, and it goes faster and faster. I'm becoming more and more involved in the life of this world, this camp. As if I had no past life, the real one. As if I was always interested in the opinions of others. Man, I never cared about it. Why right here? Why right now? I recalled the face of Lena in tears. Yeah, probably not the opinions of others, but her opinion was the one I cared about. I heard far footsteps, and after a while, Olga Dmitrievna appeared. She looked at me for a few seconds, seemed like she was about to say something, but then just sighed, opened the door with her key, and went in. I followed her. Shapeless shadows, blurry memories, fragments of feelings and emotions swirled in my head for a long time. For so long that after a while I couldn't tell where I was or what's happening to me. The only salvation was sleep. Very interesting start, though. Okay. Here, I got it. Lena. Okay. Bye.